Alright guys, I'm not gonna lie, this is my third attempt to try and get this into 10 minutes. This is pretty difficult. So I'm gonna fly through this as fast as possible, and you guys might have to rewind and listen to it again if you actually want a specific question answered, or you want to hear the response to a specific question. I'm here in Gundrek right now, and there's not too much to this instance. It's basically tank and spank the whole way through. I do want to show the instance because I think it's worth seeing, but I just don't think it's really worth explaining. So I'm going to just let it play and you guys can listen to this. I got some questions recently and I thought I'd go ahead and answer them in the video since I didn't need to explain it. I don't plan on doing this too often because I hope that the channel continues to grow and get more people, and feel free to ask questions. I just don't know if I'll be able to get to them all, so we'll do what we can. These questions came from Carthodice 2. Sorry if I butchered that. The questions were, what do I think of Death Knight tanks? What do I think of the latest patch? And what do I think of Cataclysm? So, Death Knight tanks. I'll go through my experience with them real quick, and it's pretty limited, but my experience with them is once I got into about 65, 75, I pugged groups, but I didn't do it as a tank. I did it as a DPS, which is not very effective for a prop pally. But this was my first tune that I could tank with, so I didn't want to run in and start tanking anything because I basically didn't know how to do it, so I wanted to see how other people did it, see if I couldn't learn a few things, and then go from there. So in those groups, I definitely had a couple Death Knight tanks, and to be honest, my experience with them was that they had a hard time holding aggro throughout the instance, and I think that that's a problem that Death Knights continue to have. And I did a quick browse through the talent tree, and like I said, I'm really not familiar with them. I've never played one, so it's basically hearsay. But you can do what you want with it because you asked for my opinion, so here it is. So my thought process, or looking at the talent tree, is that Death Knights are good for spell damage, increased DPS, but they're not so great at multiple targets and mitigating the damage that they take in. So I think that those two things make it a little more difficult to tank as a Death Knight, but not impossible. I did look at some of the forums on or the WoW forums, which I would recommend doing because there's a lot of people on there that are Death Knights that do tank and they don't have any problems with it, or at least they claim that they don't have any problems with it. It posts their rotations on what spells they're casting and how they hold aggro. So take a look there, and I think you'll be able to get a little bit more information from it. The other thing I'd say to do is, I've talked to some healers about it before. The healers that I talked to, this is prior to patch 3.3, so I don't know if they've changed anything for you or not, but they weren't too fond of Death Knight tanks. So I guess just maybe talk with some of the healers that you play with and see what it is that causes them having a hard time to heal you, or if they notice something, because they're chasing us around, and I think they sort of have the best observation of how a tank works and what's good about a tank. Just kind of find somebody that kind of knows what they're talking about. One thing in the talent tree that I did notice is that it looks like that you can boost your dodge rating, so I think that the best way that from just my brief analysis, I guess, would be that you mitigate damage probably best by dodging rather than the spells of a prop pally. Like a prop pally can reduce damage intake through his spells, and he has passive abilities that as he drops health, he reduces damage intake. So I think that probably the best way to do it is just increase your dodge, your parry rating, and which basic tank gear does anyway, so you're kind of already going down that road in the first place. So that's Death Knight tanks. Questions on the latest patch. I'm not sure if you are referring to patch 3.3.3, which is the latest patch, or if you're just referring to 3.3 in general. Patch 3.3.3 didn't really do anything for pallies that I know of. It changed some PvP stuff, and it changed some auction house stuff, but I don't think there was any changes to pallies other than maybe some bug fixes. So it didn't change anything for me. I don't PvP anymore, and I don't think I've even been to the auction house since 80 because I've been focusing on gear. But I think you're referring to patch 3.3 in general, and I love the new instances, and I'll kind of get into that when I answer the Cataclysm question. So up next will be the Dungeon Finder. I think the Dungeon Finder is a great tool for people that are new to 80. I think it's a great tool for WoW in general because it increases the interactions that you can have with other people online, and I think that that's probably what makes WoW so popular. I mean, one, the gameplay is good, but I mean, it's not like the graphics or anything to write home about, really. Um, and so I think that it's more of like a, I don't know, gameplay slash social environment. So the thing that I don't like about the Dungeon Finder is the fact that you can pug these groups together and you can run, multiple randoms with these people for the day, but you can't friend anybody. So it's a one and done type thing. And I understand why they do that because if you were able to friend people and pug groups together cross server, you might as well just have like one giant server, which by the way would be totally sweet if WoW was one singular world, but it's not quite big enough for 11 million people or whatever they're up to in subscribers these days. So I understand why you can't. It'd be interesting to figure out a way if you could. Next up would be the quest tracking for the new patch. I think that it's great for players because it gets you through quests faster and sort of alleviates the time of wondering what the heck you're doing. The downside to it, I guess, and there's sort of, pros and cons to everything. I don't think it's all that great for the WoW storyline in general because, well, to be honest, once I came back and there was, like, I guess before Vanilla, when you were in Vanilla WoW and you didn't know what you had to do, you had to read the quest thing more acutely so that you knew what the heck you were supposed to do. And it kind of forced you to read the storyline and, interact with the game more. Then when I came back, there was Quest Helper, and now there's the Quest Tracker, and I just pretty much eliminated reading quests in general. I just pick up the quest, go do it, and turn it in. No idea what I was actually doing or what the storyline was. So I think it's kind of a downside to WoW, but at the same time, people need to be able to get to 80 quickly because the game is going to, my understanding, or at least what I would think would happen, is that the population of the game would dwindle to sort of the hardcore people because as you get more and more levels, new people are like, well, I don't want to level a character all the way to 90 or, whatever it ends up being in the future. So you would end up with people that just sort of abandoned it. Last thing, I guess this kind of goes to the Dungeon Finder. You can now disenchant items on the fly, and that's pretty sweet because I do not have a disenchant talent or profession or enchanting profession, I guess. So on my particular server, and I don't think that it's this way on everybody's, if you pick up an item that's above, like, say, like level 40, it just doesn't sell on the auction house at all. It's pretty much garbage to you. You can vendor it or you can disenchant it, and the disenchanting stuff will sell much better than the item would all by itself on the auction house. So I think it's pretty sweet that you can disenchant things on the fly in the Dungeon Finder, and that kind of helped out quite a bit. Okay, lastly, sorry I'm flying through these, Cataclysm. I'm really excited about Cataclysm, and it's actually what brought me back to playing WoW again because, like I said, I got tired of running around without a mount in Vanilla WoW, and Burning Crusade just didn't look that interesting to me. I was moving at the time, so when I moved, I just never came back to WoW because I didn't really have any interest to play Burning Crusade. So then Lich King came out. That looked pretty fun, but not enough to make me want to level, 70 through 70 levels to play it. Then Cataclysm was announced, and I was like, well, now I could do Lich King content, and I could see what they're going to do to the original continents, which I really enjoyed playing. So that was like a double bonus for me. Came back, and here I am. We're at 80, and we're doing these videos now, so hopefully I'm helping somebody. Other things that I'm excited about is the new guild system that's going to be introduced. I'm pretty excited about that. Right now, I feel like guilds are too easy to make, and I think that sort of detracts from the guilds that already exist. I think that people should kind of get in a guild and experience a guild before making a guild, rather than just getting on, 5 friends or 10 friends or whatever it is, and making a guild and then, not really learning what it's like to be in a group. One thing that I'm kind of disappointed about is I think that they're going to nerf pallies. From what I was reading on the forums, it seems like Blizzard thinks they're a little too strong, which I'm sure lots of people would agree with that, but I'm a pally, so I'm biased, so let's just keep it the way it is, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Till next time, guys.